4 days are left for the Olympics to begin, and Japan is struggling as a host. Everything that can go wrong with the event seems to be going wrong. The organizers promised a safe and secure Olympics, but they have failed to keep the Wuhan virus away from the Games. 55 confirmed cases have been detected so far. A Japanese diplomat has managed to offend the South Korean president, so much so that President Moon Jae-in has cancelled his trip to Tokyo. And if that wasn't enough, 2 venues are crumbling just before the event. The Tokyo Bay that will host the outdoor swimming events is stinking. Another venue is dealing with what is being called an oyster plague. And to make matters worse, we now have a typhoon warning. Hosting the Olympics is a matter of pride for a country. It elevates their stature. But for Japan, it is turning into a source of chaos, embarrassment, and possibly surging cases. The people of Japan are protesting. They don't want the Games. This public anger has caused a major sponsor to pull out of the event. Tokyo is caught between a rock and a hard place. Will the decision to hold the Games blow in its face? On Gravitas tonight, we will assess how ready Japan is for these Games. I'm going to begin with a party that happened last night in Tokyo. It was held in the honor of Thomas Bach, the president of the International Olympic Committee. The guest list was exclusive. Only 40 people got the invite. Among them was Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and Tokyo's governor Yuriko Koike. They were partying inside this state guest house. Outside, a protest was on. It was a small group, but the protesters were angry. They slammed the Japanese government for breaking its own protocol. You see, there is a state of emergency in Japan. People have been asked to not gather in large numbers. But here we have the Japanese government holding a party. I don't have to tell you how bad this looks. And this has pretty much been the story. Tokyo has been hit by a barrage of criticism for not taking the threat of the virus seriously. Locals are worried that the Games will be a super spreader event, and their fears are already coming true. 2 people have now been tested positive inside the Olympic Village. This is where the athletes are staying. And this is the first instance of athletes catching the infection inside what was supposed to be a safe bubble. New infections have been detected among the support staff, journalists and contractors, all of them linked to the Games. So far, a total of 55 people have tested positive. Remember, the events are happening behind closed doors, so no fans, no public, but the virus seems to have broken the bio bubble already. No wonder the people are protesting. A survey has found that more than 60% of Japanese citizens believe that their country cannot host a safe Olympics. One sponsor is already cutting its losses, car maker Toyota. It has decided not to run any ads during the Games on TV. Toyota's executives will also give the opening ceremony a miss. Reports say the reason behind this decision is lackluster public support. A spokesperson of the Games was asked about the company's pullout. He was caught unawares.
Sorry, I wasn't aware of the story, first of all. But what I can tell you is that I know those partners and sponsors must have been struggling to support Tokyo 2020. As I said, it's an extra 1 year. And also that 1 year was a pretty intensive and challenging situation.
It's a challenging situation, he says. For Japan, it's pouring challenges. The latest one is an angry neighbor, South Korea. Its president, Moon Jae-in, was supposed to fly to Tokyo for the Games. This would have been an opportunity for both countries to revive their relationship, because Tokyo and Seoul share a difficult past. But now the present doesn't look much better. Last month, they had a spat over a map. This map was on the Tokyo Olympics website. It showed a set of islands as Japanese territory. These islands are under the control of South Korea. This was enough to inflame tensions. Then last week, things went from bad to worse. A Japanese diplomat made an inappropriate comment about President Moon Jae-in of South Korea. We'll not go into the details in the interest of decency, but we can tell you the fallout of that comment. South Korea has cancelled the president's trip.
President Moon Jae-in has decided not to visit Japan on the occasion of the Tokyo Olympics. Both sides made a meaningful level of mutual understanding after consultations that had taken place in a friendly atmosphere, but they were still insufficient to indicate an accomplishment at the summit talks. Taking other aspects into a comprehensive consideration, we have made this decision.
The Japanese Prime Minister was asked about this today. He refused to comment. Basically, Japan is firefighting a new crisis every day. Here's another one. The venues. The Tokyo Bay will host the outdoor swimming events, but reports say the venue is quote-unquote smelling like a toilet. The reason is the presence of bacteria in the water. For months, local officials have tried to clean up the bay, but they haven't had much success. The waters are safe to swim, but they stink. And that's something the athletes will have to put up with as of now. And once they overcome the odor, they'll have to deal with the oysters. You heard that right, oysters. There was a bumper harvest of oysters this time. Many of them have stuck themselves to the floats that are supposed to stop the waves from hitting the athletes when they compete. In fact, there are now so many oysters on these floats that they've begun sinking. So local officials are now spending more than $1 million to clean them up. When all of this is done, the organizers will still be sitting with their fingers crossed because there's a threat of natural disasters like earthquakes and typhoons. Experts say they pose a risk during the games. Look at the timing. It's August, nearly August. August means the arrival of the typhoon season in Japan. Typhoons come every year. Japan is used to them, but it wouldn't want a repeat of 2019. That's when Japan was the host of the Rugby World Cup. 3 pool matches had to be cancelled because of Typhoon Hagibis, a storm that killed more than 100 people and caused widespread flooding. So here's a list: the Wuhan virus, an exiting sponsor, an angry neighbor, a stinking venue overrun by oysters, and the threat of a natural disaster. We still have 4 days to go. Japan is facing a challenge of Olympic proportions. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.